First, I want to thank and congratulate our colleagues who've been working hard to secure a bipartisan, bicameral solution to complete the appropriations process and fund the government. It had been clear to everyone that in order to reach an agreement, our Democratic colleagues would have to walk away from two extreme positions that had been dictated to them, presumably by the far left. The notion that Congress shouldn't spend more than $1 on new border barriers, and the idea that we should impose a hard statutory cap on ICE detainees in the interior of our country, which would require the release of criminals into the United States. Fortunately, our Democratic colleagues did abandon those unreasonable positions, and the negotiations were able to move forward productively. Last night, Chairman Shelby, Senator Leahy, and their counterparts in the House announced they've reached an agreement in principle. Certainly good news. It provides new funds for miles of new border barriers, and it completes all 7 outstanding appropriation bills so Congress can complete a funding process for all the outstanding parts of the federal government with predictability and with certainty. I know I speak for members on both sides of the aisle when I say we are grateful to our colleagues on the Appropriations Committee for their leadership. We're eager to see them complete this work. As we speak, our colleagues are working hard to produce a legislative text. I look forward to reviewing the full text as soon as possible and hope the Senate can act on this legislation in short order. Now, on another matter, yesterday, Madam President, the Senate advanced S-47, the Natural Resources Management Act, and later today we'll vote to pass it. The lands bill is the product of over 100 pieces of legislation addressing the management and preservation of some of our nation's most precious natural areas. It touches every state, features the input of a wide coalition of our colleagues, and has earned the support of a broad, diverse coalition of many advocates for public lands, economic development, and conservation. I'm especially proud that the bill will take action on some key priorities for my own state, from protecting national monuments to preserving the legacy of historically black colleges and universities to helping local communities fight invasive species. And the fact that we're about to push this comprehensive package across the finish line is a credit to the dedicated efforts of Chairman Murkowski and Ranking Member Manchin. From the outset, S-47 has benefited from good faith bipartisan efforts at the committee level and here on the floor. So I look forward to voting to pass the bill later this afternoon. I'm going to be doing so enthusiastically for the people of Kentucky and for communities across the nation. Now, Madam President, on one final matter. Last week, the House began the hearing process of Speaker Pelosi's signature bill, H.R. 1, the Democrat Politician Protection Act. Now, I've already touched on several of its outlandish and problematic provisions. What I want to do today is to focus on one corner of the craziness, just one corner of the craziness. It's the wild idea that what American politics today is really missing is a big taxpayer bailout of political campaigns, attack ad makers, and campaign consultants. For everyone who is now convinced they must have misheard what I just said, let me say 5 of those words again. Taxpayer bailout for political campaigns. It's really something, Madam President. Washington Democrats have spent months, if not years, crafting this sprawling 500-plus page federal takeover of our political speech in our elections. They had all the time in the world to carefully choose each provision and tailor their political strategy. But even after all that, my colleagues in the House Democratic Conference are so Washington-centric in their thinking and so happy to tax and spend other people's money that it never occurred to anyone that maybe the American people wouldn't love this idea. of their own tax dollars being redistributed to political campaign consultants. Never occurred to them the American people might not like to have their tax money redistributed to political consultants. This is how out of touch with taxpayers the modern Democratic Party has become. They saw these proposals to take the American people's tax dollars and funnel them straight into more attack ads, yard signs, telephone calls, and thought, what a great idea. What a great idea. We'll put that in. The Democrat Political Protection Act would do this in several different ways. Now listen to this. There'd be a new Washington, D.C. run voucher program so that would-be political donors could simply ask for chunks of taxpayer money and then hand it out to the campaigns they favor. There'd also be a brand new six-fold matching program for certain donations. The federal government, Madam President, would literally come in, sort of like some businesses match their workers' charitable contributions, and use the American people's money to, quote, match certain campaign contributions sixfold. In other words, listen to this, millions of dollars are available for each candidate that comes along asking for his or her share of the taxpayer loot. Now keep in mind, this puts each taxpayer on the hook for financing the candidates and campaigns they personally disagree with. We're going to take our money and give it to people that we are not for. If Democrats have their way, citizens won't just have to sit through television commercials railing against the candidates they plan to vote for. Now they'd also have the pleasure of bankrolling the ads. Sit there in front of the TV screen and watch your tax dollars at work supporting the person you're going to vote against. People are going to love that. So when you ask Democrats why exactly they would propose something as absolutely ludicrous as a massive new taxpayer-funded bailout of the permanent political class, sometimes they make vague claims that problems in American politics would go away if only we took more power out of the people's hands and shipped it here to the nation's capital. Now, Madam President, the evidence suggests they're dead wrong on this. Research suggests that jurisdictions, and there are a few of them, that have matching fund systems in many cases also have rampant corruption, misappropriation, and waste. There are numerous examples that there's still plenty of corruption and wrongdoing in those systems. Not exactly a surprise outcome when you centralize more money and power through government channels. And public financing doesn't appear to change the playing field between challengers and incumbents in any way either. Here's how one University of Wisconsin political scientist summed it up. Quote, the people who propose these systems often oversell them, end quote. No apparent benefits, significant new costs, and they want to stick taxpayers with the bill. Stick taxpayers with the bill. Just another one of the Democrat Politician Protection Act's greatest hits. I'll have more in the future.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Alexander.